Hello physical fiends, it's time for a brand new series. Please bear with me in this first episode as I introduce it to you. I won't be so long-winded in future episodes. I put out feelers about a month or so back about doing a Let's Get Physical series dedicated to PlayStation and Xbox releases. Not on a weekly basis, at least not yet, but on a monthly basis. And because I'm somehow getting daily videos out whilst also having a full-time job, I needed to call in help. This video was highly requested, but I cannot do it by myself. So this video was entirely researched, written, and edited by Tim. I'll take that back a little bit. I will add some of my personal dodgy takes, nonsense, and opinions to his general script. But aside from that, my man Tim, this is his. It's a new series, he's new to it, I'm new to it. I'm sure there'll be a few things to work out along the way, many of which can be suggested by you guys. Point stuff out, be constructive about it, okay? And of course, I don't expect this to do as well as the Switch weekly series, so please do support the video, leave a like, leave a mildly relevant comment, and purchase games via the links below. I'm not letting Tim work for free, so support is greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's get physical with PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Xbox. At retail in the West, Diesel Legacy: The Brazen Age is releasing on the 3rd of December for PS4 and PS5. Diesel Legacy is a hand-drawn 2v2 fighting game. 4 players on 2 teams. It's a Western-developed fighting game that may interest King of Fighters fans if you're not too busy playing the 90 million Kings of Fighters games and staring at Mai's you-know-whats. Touhou Spell Carnival is releasing on the 3rd of December for PS5 and PS4 in Europe, already released in US regions, but this is an interesting mix of bullet hell and strategy RPG, charming for those who are invested in the Touhou universe for a unique title. For those who aren't, maybe a bit too budgeted and too overpriced. A Plague Tale Collection is releasing on December 5th for PlayStation 5 in North America. It already released in European regions. A Plague Tale Collection includes the 2 critically acclaimed in the A Plague Tale series, Innocence and Requiem, and a steel book is included with exclusive artwork which may interest those that collect steel books. Action, adventure, survival horror from French team Astebros Studio. Fantasian Neo Dimension is releasing physically on the 5th of December on PlayStation 5 and Xbox. This is a JRPG published by Square Enix and directed by the father of the Final Fantasy series, Hironobu Sakaguchi. It was originally an Apple Arcade title but is now releasing on the big consoles. Of course, it's gonna be a classic. It was made by a man with a magnificent mustache. That is the reason Final Fantasy was so successful. And speaking of successful, if you want this new series to be successful, if you want to purchase any of the games in this video, please consider using the links below. VGP are a fantastic company with great prices in cheap Canadian cash and free worldwide shipping on orders over 80 Canadian bucks, which is less than 60 American dollars. It really supports me, this channel, and Tim to help make this video for you guys. Thanks a lot. Highway Police Simulator is releasing physically on the 5th of December for PS5 in Europe. For those bored of their German farming and truck driving simulators, a new opportunity to LARP as an American sheriff presents itself. A spiritual successor to the Autobahn Police Simulator series, I'm hoping there are plenty of donuts to consume. Ravenswatch Legendary Edition is releasing on the 5th of December for PS5 in North America, already released in European regions. Ravenswatch is a top-down roguelike action game. This is an updated version with DLC included. For those who want more of Hades, who don't mind playing a worse Hades. Train Sim World 5 is releasing physically on the 5th of December on PS5 in Europe and North America. More simulation train action here from British studio Dovetail Games. A lackluster response on Steam. This edition includes the San Bernardino line, whatever that means, Frankfurt, Fulda, West Coast Main Line, and the London Overground Suffragette Line DLC packs. That's a lot of words. Astebros is releasing physically on the 6th of December for PS5 and PS4 in Europe. Astebros is the 16-bit roguelike designed for the Sega Mega Drive, also available in a Repro Mega Drive / Genesis cartridge. But let's face it, why would you buy that when you can play it on a HD modern console? I'm joking, the Mega Drive is awesome. Demons of Asteborg is also releasing from the same studio, Neofid Studio, and this is available physically on the 6th of December on PS5 in Europe. This has already released on PS4 to somewhat middling reviews, not going to light the world on fire, but for those craving a modern age Mega Drive style release, it may be one to go for. Dogman Mission Impawsible is releasing physically on December 6th on PS5. This is a cheap looking 2D platformer that's probably aimed at kids. It looks like absolute garbage and an embarrassment not only to the source material but also to humankind as a species. Even chimps are laughing at us because of this. MACROSS Shooting Insight is releasing physically on December the 6th on PS4 and PS5, having already released in Japan, where the English was originally promised but they went back on it due to licensing issues with some of the content. You know how this MACROSS stuff works, right? Now is the chance for English speakers to get their hands on a copy, minus the... I don't really know much about MACROSS, to be honest. It's a hard sell if you compare it to some of the incredible cave shooters available quite affordably on the PS4 and PS5 now, and also an absolutely incredible G-Rev classic releasing in Japan, appearing later in this video, coming as well. Still a solid shmup for those that have played the best and just want more. MACROSS diehard fans will probably enjoy it as well. Predator Hunting Grounds is an asymmetrical multiplayer shooter set in the classic Predator universe. It's releasing physically on PS5 December 12th, although it previously released on PS4, where it received decent but not exceptional reviews. This edition comes with some DL skins as a bonus. Do Predators skin their opponents? I can't remember, but it seems like something they would do because they're weird aliens. Read Only Memories NEURODIVER, the divisive sequel, is releasing physically on PlayStation 5 in Europe on the 6th of December. Already available on the Switch, this is a rather disappointing sequel of 2064. It was met with middling reviews, unfortunately. I did try it, I played it for like an hour, and I kind of enjoyed it, but I heard it's really short. So yeah, it doesn't quite live up to the potential that it could have. Still, an interesting attempt at a PC 98 style adventure. Resident Evil Remake 2, 3, and 7 Gold Edition. All three of these games are releasing separately in Europe physically on December the 6th on PS5. They're also releasing in Japan and Asia later in the month, but won't be releasing in North America until January. These are all classic survival horror titles, re-released with some minor graphical updates, although, you know, we're not Digital Foundry, so we don't know jack shit. Capcom have a very poor reputation for re-releases having no DLC on the disc, so don't expect these to be like the definitive editions. However, you know, Resident Evil 2 Remake is considered one of the greatest games in this generation, I mean the previous generation, of all time in fact. It's a brilliant game, one of the best ever. So if you've not played the PS4 version, pick it up. Rugrats Adventures in Gameland is releasing physically on December 6th on PS5. This is a rather uninspired looking 2D platformer by the Media Indie Exchange. Middling reviews on Steam. Can't imagine it's a worthwhile addition unless you harbor sentiment towards the original cartoon. Personally, I did enjoy one of the PS1 games back in the day. I can't remember which one, but it seemed cool. Even as like a 12-year-old, I enjoyed it. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Possibly rarer than the Lost Ark itself comes an Xbox exclusive, releasing physically on the 9th of December. Developed by Machine Games of Wolfenstein Reboot's fame, there seems to be some promise to this with rumblings of excitement for this first-person action-adventure title. The story is set in 1937, placing it between the events of the first film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the third film, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Don't be disappointed, however, if you don't have an Xbox because a PlayStation port is due for next year sometime. Road Maintenance Simulator 2 Winter Service, releasing physically on December 9th on PS5 in Europe, yet another job simulator game in this video, this time made by German studio KAYAK. Who names their studio KAYAK? It's a game where you can LARP as a winter maintenance worker. Not much to say about it. Someone's perfect Boxing Day game perhaps, kind of relaxing, freezing your nuts off plowing roads rather than plowing into your Christmas leftovers. Snow Bros Wonderland is releasing physically on December 10th on PS5 in Europe. The Japanese physical release already released last month, and the North American version is being handled by Limited Run Games, a reimagining of a classic title. The graphics seem a steep departure from the Touhou Plan origins. Clear River Games have taken the mantle and created a 3D isometric style to make it as cheap looking as humanly possible. Absolute Tactics Daughters of Mercy is releasing physically on December 12th on PS5 in Europe. Like Snow Bros Wonderland, the North American release is going to be handled by Limited Run Games. This is a fairly underwhelming tactical RPG with reviews predominantly focusing on what it is lacking. Perhaps only one for diehards or those who are fans of forgiving female offspring. Black Myth Wukong, the big title for this video, one that many people have been waiting for. Releasing physically on December 12th on PS5, Black Myth Wukong is an action role-playing game developed and published by Game Science. The game is inspired by the classical Chinese novel Journey to the West and follows an anthropomorphic monkey, thank you Tim for making me say anthropomorphic monkey, based on the Sun Wukong's novel, at least he's in the novel. This game has received an overwhelmingly positive reception and even has a nomination for the Game of the Year award. Sold about 1 billion copies digitally already, now the physical waiters or the double-dipping dingleberries can join in. Little Big Adventure Twinsen's Quest is releasing physically on December 12th on PS5. This is a remake of the classic 1994 adventure title Little Big Adventure on the PC and PS1. A genre classic of a tale of destiny and heroism, with the original composer making their return, and some positive reviews so far seem maybe worth picking up, although some have said that it goes against what made the original so charming, so I don't know. Raging Bytes is releasing physically on December 12th on PS5 in North America. This is an interesting title from Kemco, a 16-bit story-driven RPG with zombies, something different, but unfortunately seems to have somewhat middling reviews. Sociable Soccer 25, releasing physically on the 12th of December on PS4 and PS5 in Europe. This is a FIFA Pro licensed arcade action game from Sensible Soccer creator John Hare. If you enjoy retro-looking football titles, then I'll imagine you'll enjoy this. It's a bit different to FIFA. Fairy Tail 2 is releasing physically on the 13th of December on PS4 and PS5, an RPG based on the popular manga and anime series developed by Koei Tecmo, and this will probably offer no surprises, but if you enjoy the previous title and other Koei action RPGs, then this will be a good pickup, I'm sure. Maybe some knowledge of the source material is required, or appreciation for big booby anime girls. Either one and you'll be fine. Last Time I Saw You is releasing physically on December the 13th on PS5 in Europe. This is an indie adventure title from Japanese developers Maboroshi Artworks. A strong narrative and a distinct look has given this a positive reception despite its more unorthodox visuals, by which I think Tim means artsy-fartsy. Morkull Ragast Rage is releasing physically on December the 13th on PS5. This is a 2D platform adventure / Metroidvania, the premier title from Spain's Disaster Games. Seems to have a little bit of a buzz around it. Will be interesting to see if it's yet another uninspired Metroidvania or a potential classic in waiting. Shotgun King, the final Checkmate, is releasing physically on the 13th of December on PS5. Shotgun King is a roguelike turn-based tactics video game developed by French studio Cake Delicieux. What's wrong with these names? Generally positive reviews from a game where you play as a shotgun-wielding king chess piece. Novel, maybe, but some potential for short-lived fun perhaps. And let's face it, a shotgun is really the only way to liven up a game of chess, second to only a flamethrower. The Inheritance of Crimson Manor Victorian Edition is releasing physically on the 13th of December on PS5 in Europe. This is a first-person gothic horror story based on mystery, puzzle solving, and exploration. Included in this edition is a soundtrack CD and a penny dreadful comic. Seems to have mainly positive reception from its PC release. Don't expect anything groundbreaking, but a good alternative to the jump scare horror games perhaps. Dredge Complete Collector's Edition is releasing physically on the 17th of December on PS5. This is an updated version of the very popular single-player fishing adventure game Dredge, with all the DLC included on the disc. This edition also includes some extras, a Sign of Ruin talisman, a double-sided poster, a fold-out nautical chart, a hardback compendium of all fish, a metal doubloon coin, and even a message from the developer Black Salt Games, scrolled on a scroll and kept safely in a bottle. A great addition for someone who has a lot of space on a shelf that they like to fill. FLINT, Treasures of Oblivion, is releasing physically on the 17th of December on PS5 and Xbox, a tactical RPG adventure game created by French studio Savage Level. Somewhat uninspiring visuals, combined with emphasis on a comic book panel storytelling approach to the narrative. Not a lot of buzz about this one. Worms Armageddon Anniversary Collector's Edition is releasing physically on the 17th of December, at least in North America, maybe a bit earlier in Europe on PS5. A port/remaster of the classic 1999 turn-based strategy game, a very popular game back on the PS1, and it saw ports to almost every console of the time. A fantastic party game for gamers of a certain vintage. I think Tim is saying we're kinda old. This edition includes a double-sided collectible anniversary coin, worm stickers, a weapon, and utilities guide booklet. Not just a weapon and utilities guide booklet. I read that really wrong. A double-sided poster, and 3 exclusive pins. The Thaumaturge. Am I saying that right? The Thaumaturge is releasing physically on the 19th of December on PS5 and Xbox from developers Fool's Theory. Taking place in a dark fantasy early 20th century Warsaw, this is an RPG focusing on your decisions and their consequences. Turn-based battles and morality system are included. Fairly positive reviews for this one. Alright, let's jump into the limited low print releases. This includes games that are currently open for pre-order or games that will be up for pre-order in December time. It's a little bit complicated for this video series, but let's just roll with it, okay? And just very briefly on these. Firstly, with limited run games, they have In Stars and Time. Pre-orders are ending 22nd of December. It's an indie game exploring the mechanics of time looping in an RPG adventure. KAYAK VR Mirage. Pre-orders are ending 22nd of December as well. A PSVR 2 game for multiplayer kayaking, as niche as you can get. Pixel Ripped Dots Double Pack. Pre-orders for this are ending 29th of December. A double pack of PSVR 2 games, Pixel Ripped 1978 and Pixel Ripped 1995. Both titles are first-person shooter puzzles and seem to have some popularity in the PSVR community. Murderous Muses. Pre-orders for this are ending 29th of December from creators of The Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker, The Shape-Shifting Detective, and Dark Nights with Poe and Monroe. Murderous Muses is a supernatural whodunit adventure / FMV game. Middling reviews on Steam, probably only worth picking up if FMV games are your thing. Let's look at East Asia Soft. Xuanyuan Sword, The Gate of Firmament, is releasing exclusively on PlayAsia on the 13th of December. A Chinese action RPG with some fairly positive reception on PC, a welcome throwback to RPGs, JRPGs, it's actually Taiwanese I think, games from the 90s and early 2000s. This physical package contains all the previously available DLC on the disc as well, and seemingly a worthwhile purchase. Alright, let's jump into the import titles. Firstly, we're mainly going to talk about import titles with English that may be worth importing. And remember, if you want to pre-order any of these, please use the code Jordan24. That will run out at the end of the year, and hopefully I'll get a nice shiny new one in January, but for now, Jordan24 will net you 5% off. Under Defeat is releasing on the 5th of December for PS5 in Japan and Asian regions on the 26th of December. A legendary arcade shooter that was available for the Dreamcast from G-Rev. Much beloved and for good reason. Incredibly solid shmup, well worth picking up. A Western version is due for release in 2025, however, so potentially only import for those who don't want to wait. This Japanese release does not have English. Besiege is releasing physically on the 12th of December on PS5. Besiege is a physics-based building game developed by British developers Spiderling Studios, having a single-player campaign of 55 levels as well as multiplayer. Cats on Duty is releasing physically on the 12th of December on PS5. A blend of RTS and tower defense, Cats on Duty is a take on the Plants vs. Zombies style puzzler. Not sure it's the perfect title for a PS5 disc due to the nature of the game, but for those that love Plants vs. Zombies and you want to try something a little bit different, it's worth looking into. Knights vs. Giants, The Broken Excalibur is releasing physically on the 12th of December on PS5. Another fantasy action roguelike. Diablo at Home, somewhat average reception and looking like it's being released in the West by P-Cube in the future, so perhaps worth waiting on that import. Raging Loop is releasing physically on the 12th of December on PS5, a cult VN from Kemco that's highly regarded. You can check out my VN video about all the best VNs on the Nintendo Switch, but it's best to go in blind with this one as it's got some great twists. It does seem that only the Asian release may have English on this one, perhaps not the Japanese one. 7 Days Heroes is releasing physically on the 19th of December on PS5, a pixel art 2D action game in which our 4 characters fight zombies, a $4 game on Steam, which might tell you all you need to know. Ancient Weapon Holly is releasing physically on the 19th of December on PS5, developed by Acquire, a studio I quite like, but this title has some mixed to negative reviews, combining action with strategic gameplay. Maybe one to miss, we'll have to see. Yeah, you want those games, right? So here you go, now let's see you clear them. 1+2 is releasing physically on the 19th of December on PS5. This is a parody puzzle game based on those, mobile game ads that you see on social media. An intriguing and original title with some generally positive reception. What you see is what you get. Repetitive and boring for some, perfect brain rot for others. Personally, I prefer beer. Here are some other imports. Firstly, import titles with no English. And finally, some import titles that have already released in the West. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. December physical releases for PlayStation and Xbox consoles. Remember, all Switch releases will be in my weekly series every Monday. This series, for the time being, will be every month. Thank you for your support. Thanks for all the likes, the comments, the purchases with the links below. And as always, a special thanks to my executive producers, Dane Wilkinson, God of Resin, Brent McLean, Alexander Cato, JCross7776, Punky Dooster, Cartoon Soren, Robotech, Raven Knight, Thorn Metal Luna, Issa, Vey, Offphone, Instacritic, Precision Plague, Alex M, Feig, Josh Foot, Ishin, Lewis K, Kevin W, Jennifer M, Super Ben Julio, Dave Huswaite, Dave Hallworth, Wixit, Sora Cat, The Nemo 6, Ghost Bune, G Bautista 100, Rose, and Adamantium. Thank you so much for your support. Check out some of my other videos, and thanks to Tim for making this video, putting it together. Cheers!